You left these at Mom's place yesterday. She insisted I bring them to you. In other words, her primary reason for visiting was her mother's request. Oh, thank you. I accepted the keys. You didn't have to trouble yourself. I have a spare set. Clara was momentarily speechless. After waiting for several seconds and growing impatient, I politely inquired, Miss Daniel, is there anything else? If Clara couldn't understand the hint to leave, she wouldn't have reached her current status. She pursed her red lips and replied, No. With a thud, I closed the door. Trace was standing on the stairs, watching me. Puzzled, I asked, Aren't you going back to catch some sleep? Why are you just standing there watching me? Tracy slightly squinted her eyes and crossed her arms before her chest. There's nothing, just that. You seem a bit ruthless towards your ex-wife. I was speechless. If you have nothing to say, you don't have to. Tracy lifted her chin slightly. James, don't tell me. You can't see what she's thinking. I asked back, What is she thinking? Tracy leaned back and lazily said, She wants to see you, doesn't she? Otherwise, she would never have come over early in the morning just to deliver a car key, let alone look so bad when she saw Tracy in this house. I turned my head slightly, and then Tracy tapped her finger on the railing, as if unintentionally she said, You don't feel anything? What feeling? Should I chase after her as soon as she turns her head back? I found it a bit funny. Yes, I do. Tracy looked over, her gaze slightly moved, and her spine seemed to stiffen a bit. I shrugged. I feel that the divorce was too late. If I had known earlier what kind of person she was, I should have given up on her earlier. It's a waste of my time for no reason. Tracy seemed to be taken aback by my words. She stared at me for a while, then suddenly smiled. All right, James, you're finally showing some promise. I felt encouraged and couldn't help replying, Oh, far from it. I'm still no match for you. She was the personification of remaining untouched despite moving amidst entanglements. Trace retorted, How many times do I have to say this? I have nothing to do with those men. I nodded in agreement. I get it, miss. You're merely playing along with them. Your Mr. Right hasn't yet appeared. Isn't this how it always goes in novels? The domineering rich heiress will always meet her destined true love and will pay back the emotional debts she owed in the past manifold times. Tracy sighed at me, leaving me with, I should have known I couldn't reason with a blockhead like you, before she went back to sleep. I slept until the afternoon and was awakened by hunger. Upon waking, I found a bunch of missed calls and text messages on my phone, all from my parents. After browsing for a while, I understood why they were suddenly contacting me. They'd found out about my divorce from Clara. You divorced Clara? What on earth were you thinking? How many times do we have to say this? Clara's company is on the rise. We're even in talks of collaboration with them. How do you expect us to handle this now? You're a grown man. How can you be so capricious? Getting a divorce just like that. Have you ever thought about others? You are so selfish. I have no son like you. You're such a disgrace. Anyway, it's just those same words repeated. After watching for a while, I stopped and went out to forage for food. It smells so good! I stared doggedly at the sumptuous meal on the table and at Tracy, who was leisurely enjoying her feast. Tracy, do you have no conscience left? You're eating all by yourself. Tracy just lazily lifted her eyelids. Should I starve myself just for you? Well, a pretty convincing argument. Irrefutable. I went straight up, picked up my spoon, and took some of Thun, the takeaway dishes she ordered. Nothing else matters, but on the topic of food, Tracy is indeed an expert. Her takeaway order from private kitchens always tastes better than others. By the way, your parents called me. They said they wanted to talk to you, but you've not been picking up. Tracy suddenly mentioned. I know. Tracy paused her chopstick movements. Her gaze swept across my phone. Should I leave for a moment? I waved my hand. No need. Let them say what they want. Anyway, what's done is done. They can't do anything about it. Just as I was saying this, my phone rang again, and I picked it up. Before I could even say a word, a barrage of words hit me from the other side. James! You go find Clara right now. Admit your mistake. Say you did it impulsively. Beg her to remarry you. I moved my phone a little further away as I listened to the sharp female voice. Remarry? What a daring thought. As for what's worse, being scolded or dying in Clara's hands, I'm pretty clear on that. James? James Nicholas, are you even listening to me? I finally found a chance to reply, I'm listening, but this is a tough situation. I can't handle it. She became even angrier. James, is this the attitude a child should have towards his parents? I retorted, weren't you the one who said you didn't have a son like me? Have you forgotten? She was suddenly left speechless. Even though she seemed to want to continue scolding me, I didn't feel like listening anymore. I've already made myself clear. I'm busy. Let's talk another day. After saying this, I hung up the phone and promptly blocked her. Tracy, who witnessed my series of swift and fluid actions, was left in dumbfounded silence. She decisively put down her spoon, sized me up and down for a while, and then expressed her disbelief. Well, look at you, James. Not only did you dump your ex-wife, but now you even dare to defy your parents. With my mouth still full of food, I vaguely responded to her, where there is oppression, there is resistance. Tracy chuckled a bit, leaning slightly forward with one hand beneath her chin, red lips curling into a smirk. So does that mean, one day, it might be my turn? I gave her a thumbs up, commending her for her self-awareness. This reaction of hers was not surprising to me. She grew up with the original owner and was very clear about what kind of temper and character the old James Nicholas had. From her perspective, my current actions could probably be summarized in a single sentence. I've gone crazy. But then again, anyone who encounters these situations would go crazy, wouldn't they? As a side character, I don't have the protagonist's halo. It's better to run away as soon as possible to save my life, isn't it? By the way, would you help me look for new housing? I asked. This place isn't bad, but it's annoying to be disturbed every now and then. Clara wasn't the only one. The whole original family was a nuisance. Today, I completely wrecked my relationship with them. Who knows if they would come to stir up some trouble? I had no interest in dealing with them. Upon hearing my words, Tracy understood. Okay, leave it to me. Tracy certainly lived up to her reputation as a competent third-generation heiress. Though most of her time was spent indulging in food, drink, and fun, she proved herself reliable when it really counted. The next day, she called me and informed me she had chosen a villa on the city's west side. The previous owner of this house is leaving the country and eager to sell. The house was just renovated and no one has lived in it yet. It's a lucky find for you, she said. I was very satisfied with her efficiency. On the same day, I took Tracy to sign a contract with the owner and had the house transferred as quickly as possible. Then I turned around and put my previous house on the market. I hired a moving company, and a group of movers were busy carrying items up and down stairs. Watching them, I was rendered speechless. I had no idea until now how much stuff the previous owner had left behind. I was considering offering extra payment for the mover's labor when a mover carrying a large box down from the third floor asked, "Mr. Nicholas, what's in this box?" It's quite heavy. The box was sealed tightly, and it was impossible to tell what was inside from the outside. As I was about to go take a look, my phone suddenly rang. "Hello, is this Mr. Nicholas? This is Hillcrest Hospital. Your wife suddenly fainted on the street and was brought in. Can you come here as soon as possible?" I blinked in surprise as the news sank in. Clara had fainted and was rushed to the hospital. "You must have gotten it wrong. I'm not her husband," I clarified, my voice steady but my mind racing. The voice on the other end sounded taken aback. "But on the patient's phone contact list." Oh, right. I suddenly recalled that back when Clara was pregnant, James had insisted on changing his contact name to Hubby on her phone. Clara, not wanting to argue, had let him have his way. Who would have thought she'd forget to change it, even after all this time since their divorce? "How's she doing?" I asked, my concern creeping in despite myself. The patient seems to have fainted due to hypoglycemia. Her life isn't in danger, but her overall condition isn't great. You should come as soon as... I got it, but I'm a little busy right now. How about this? You can contact her current boyfriend, Michael. His number should be on the list. If anything comes up, you can reach out to him directly. I hung up the phone and turned to find even more boxes cluttering the living room. When will all this cleaning up end? Let's move all of these out for now. I'll deal with it when I have time. Luckily, the new house was spacious enough. I instructed the housekeeper to sort things out temporarily, and then indulged myself in a few rounds of gaming before checking in at a newly opened barbecue spot. The food was exquisite, and the interior decor was remarkable. I couldn't resist snapping a few photos to post on my Instagram. Check in. Another day of muscle building. In between the photos, I added a charming selfie that captured my good mood. Friends began liking the post, and even Tracy, who usually couldn't be bothered to comment, left a remark. The place is good. I replied playfully, have you eaten there? Tracy shot back, of course, I own it. I was speechless. Did I just set her up for a boast? What I didn't expect, though, was that Michael also commented on my post. His tone was politely dismissive on the surface, yet his words felt probing and patronizing. James, although you are already divorced from Clara, it's not appropriate that she's in the hospital and you won't even visit her, right? Me? Seriously? What kind of twisted logic is that? As soon as his comment hit the feed, it sent shockwaves through my Instagram circle. Only a handful of people knew about my divorce from Clara. I hadn't even thought about making a public statement regarding our separation, yet here he was, placing himself on some moral high ground. I responded with equal sarcasm. Ideally, an ex should be dead to you. I'm only not visiting to avoid misunderstandings. If you don't mind, I'll go. After all, we were once classmates. It would be reasonable to visit her, don't you think? The comment section erupted into chaos. Friends chimed in with outrage and support alike. After a while, Michael removed his comment as if erasing it would make it disappear into thin air. Oh, so removing it makes it like nothing happened? Seizing the moment, I quickly posted another open question for my followers. Instagram gurus, I need your advice. What kind of gift is appropriate when visiting an ex-wife and her current boyfriend? Please, this is really important to me. An hour later, I was on my way to the hospital carrying fruits. Unexpectedly, right as I arrived outside the patient's room, I heard Michael's voice, full of heartache. Clara, please don't be angry. I know I messed up this time, but it's all for you. Clara didn't reply. Michael sounded frustrated and wronged. You collapsed. The hospital even specifically called him, but he didn't even care enough to come and see you. What if something happened to you today? It was as if I had committed a great mistake. Finally, Clara's tired voice came through. I'm a bit tired. I want some quiet. After a while, the sound of a chair being moved from inside the room was heard, and Michael came to the door. The instant he opened the door and saw me, he was rendered speechless on the spot. Clara felt something was off, so she turned her head to look. Her face was awfully pale, void of her usual assertive female CEO aura. Lying in the hospital bed with an IV drip, she unexpectedly appeared unusually frail. When she saw me, her initially dull eyes lit up for a moment. She seemed anxious and yet helpless. James, why are you here? I passed by Michael and entered. Wouldn't people gossip if I didn't come, saying that I just got separated and now ignoring the life and death of my ex-wife? We are college classmates after all. There's no need to be overly stilted, right? Clara's face went pale, her lips tightly pressed. She must have seen me and Michael fighting in the friend circle. As proud as she is, how could she tolerate being teased by someone in public? It's absolutely humiliating. The resentment in her heart towards me must have deepened. Thinking about it worries me. All right, now that I'm here, if there's nothing else, I'm leaving first, okay? There was a slight pull at the corner of Clara's mouth. James, do you have to do this? I raised an eyebrow, sincerely asking, what do you mean? I had a car accident and you only visited me on the third day. Compared to you, I think I've been pretty fair, haven't I? If it's about being ruthless, who could beat you, the female lead, huh? Clara's face turned ashy in an instant. She opened her mouth, seemingly wanting to say something. Suddenly my phone rang. It was from my housemaid. Mr. Nicholas, most of your things have been packed, but there is still one box left. It contains ceramics. How would you like to handle them? I was taken aback. Ceramics? Yes, it does look like it was made by you, so I thought I would ask. I locked eyes with Clara, both of us startled as a sudden realization flashed across my mind.